If your master channel looks like this and you don't hear any digital distortion, that's not good news. Today I will show you why digital clipping doesn't sound like analog distortion and how to properly gain stage and level your mix inside of FL Studio. Hello producers, it's Ozgun here and welcome to the channel. So in this tutorial I like to show you how to properly gain stage in FL Studio and what's the difference between gain staging and leveling, and also we will talk about digital clipping and analog distortion. We will talk about the difference between them, and we will talk about how this topic can impact your mixdown. And if you're ready, let's jump to that video. So guys, gain staging basically means like keeping your signal clean in every stage, from samples, from plugins to your master. It means keeping the signal always in a healthy level. So what is this healthy level? So let's zoom in and find this sample. If I turn off everything from the master, and if I revert to volume changes and also let me unroot it from the master, and this is how this sample sounds like. As you see, it's hitting 0 dB exactly. So ideally, if a sample is peaking at 0 dB, which means there's no headroom left, because 0 dB is our limit, right? So if you like to mix this sample inside of your track, you better just lower it from the input gain, or you can do this from the sampler window. It's from here, this volume, or this input, gain knob in here, which comes with 24th or 25th version of FL Studio. So this is the first step of gain stage, the volume and the amount of the input signal. So let's say I have my input signal at, minus 4 dB. And I never care about the numbers. You will find tons of tutorials telling you need to have your kick in minus 12, you need to have your drums in blah, blah, blah. Guys, I just don't care about those numbers. So as long as this sample is not peaking above 0 dB, which is bad, we will talk about that. Just lower it a couple dBs until it not clip, maybe even until it's, not touching the ceiling. Put it less than 0 dB and you are good to go. Now the next thing, we can route this to a mixer channel, right? Let me revert the volume of this mixer channel and unmute everything. So now I'm sending this right sample to number 16 mixer channel, peaking at minus 0 dB. So that's the first rule of gain staging, but I should tell you that. So this time, let me go to some synth, some plugin, maybe this one. So if I deactivate everything from the mixer and put the mixer to the 0, so this serum sound hitting minus 4 dB, peaking at minus 4 dB, which is perfect. It's not clipping, that's perfect. And for example, when I process it, let's see, we put a distortion. And now it's peaking at plus 5 dB. But we are not hearing any audible distortion, right? That's because this is not analog. This is all digital. So if this was a real analog device and we hit plus 5 dB, we would literally overload the circuits inside of the gear, literally with electricity. It could add heat, warmth, tons of, real distortion. You could hear it immediately after peaking 0 dB. That's the limit. But in a DAW, in a digital audio workstation, it's all calculating, it's all math. So in digital realm, when you peak above 0 dB, you will just have some hard clipping. It will mess up with your dynamic range and also the transients, but you don't hear a distortion just like in the real world. So I think that's even more dangerous because we don't hear any distortion after 0 dB, but our mixdown is getting chopped, because of the hard clipping. Literally, you can go to the audio options and you can see that hard clip is applying after you reach 0 dB. And other than that, when you work in a FL Studio project, you have 32 or 64 bits float, audio engine working. That's why you probably won't hear much distortion or much audible hard clipping till like maybe plus 10 dB. But when you render the track, it's not gonna sound pleasant. So when you are mixing your tracks, always try to avoid peaking more than 0 dB internally. So we could do something like that, peaking plus 5. Okay, then I can just lower the output. Now this is called gain staging. So it starts with serum, this output knob. So we were sending like minus 4 dB output from serum. It's not red, but this distortion plugin just make it too loud. And we should compensate it by lowering the output. So now it's peaking -4 as well. And now I'm sending a healthy signal to Pancake plugin, a signal which is not digitally clipped. And the next plugin is an EQ, and we can check that if the signal is clipped or not. Yes, the signal is -4 still. So in every plugin, as you see, you need to make sure you are not clipping. That's super important when you mix your tracks. So we have a reverb plugin. So in the top output module, I can see that I'm not peaking. Let's go to Isotope Trash, which is a distortion plugin. And let me revert all the changes. So we are pretty close to the limits. We are not sending it a peaked signal, and the output is in the limit, It's almost 0 dB. Maybe just to be safe, we can have some drive it or maybe lower the output a little bit. And now the sound is peaking -2.5 approximately. We got an OTT. Let's see what it's gonna do to the signal. So the peaks are pretty much going to +2. Let's lower the output gain a little bit, maybe 2 dB. And EQ. And now this sound is gain stage. We are not peaking anywhere between the plugins. And this mixer channel is the last thing on the chain in terms of volume. So it starts with serum internally, and also this volume knob, which is the same knob from the channel rack. As you see, they are moving at the same time. So this is like the input, the first level of the gain stage. And the mixer is the last stage of the gain stage. So if your serum sound is clipping, when you play it, and you can see this clipping, you cannot solve it with just lowering the mixer. You need to solve it from this one, because this one is the first and this one is the last. That's super important to know order of the gain stage. And now our channel is not clipping. We are sending a healthy signal to the synth bus if you follow the cable. And in the synth bus, there is no processing and it's routing to the master. And now we are sending the master a healthy signal. So you should have this for all of your tracks. So I see many people is confusing between gain staging and leveling. So they are pretty similar but very different. So gain stage is just like that, just like we thought. It's very technical stuff. But leveling is like something more creative, So leveling is like once you have gain stage, all of the channels, let's say this track is gain stage for the mixing session. And now the leveling is something like that. Oh, I like to have my kick and bass at like this. And let me check the bass. So this is my lead. So that's pretty loud. Let me lower the lead a little bit. So this is leveling. Now I'm leveling my channels according to each other as my taste. Maybe I want a louder lead, or maybe I want my leads to be quieter, and instead I can push the arpeggiato sound, something like that. That's leveling. That's the creative process. So yeah, that's a very rough example of how you level the tracks. Just be creative, just level the channels according to your taste, but make sure all of the channels are gain stage properly before you're doing the leveling. And the last thing, guys, like my master is clipping. If you check the mid. So if my master goes above 0 dB, which means I'm getting some, digital clipping, and that's not good for mastering. So you don't need to just lower all the mixer tracks like that. It's not ideal. You can just put a fruity balance and lower it until it not clips. So if your master is hitting approximately minus 6 dB, you can just make it with fruity balance, just putting a fruity balance like the first thing on your master, and then you are good to go to your mastering session. Just have approximately 6 dB headroom for mastering, which is ideal, but again, not a rule. That's totally okay. You don't need to have the exact numbers. Always trust your ears. And yeah, then you can do your mastering. It's okay to clip in the master a little bit. You can always put a fruity balance and lower it until it not clip. The good thing with working with digital audio workstations, if this was in an analog realm, the story was completely different. But this is how you can do your gain staging and leveling inside of the FL Studio. So I hope this clear your mind a little bit, because I had several questions about this topic recently. And if you have more questions, please let me know in the comment section. Today that was it, guys. See you on the next video. Bye bye.